welcome to another fruitful discussion with Mrs. M. So for today, we'll need to continue our discussion on the history of the PNP. So I've already prepared a video presentation, so please watch.
Serve and protect. So goes the slogan of the police, and this is what the Philippine National Police is all about. The PNP is the ultimate public servant. Its principal job is to protect the well-being of the Filipino people. Today's PNP, however, does more than just serve and protect. As an organization, the PNP has been around for more than 100 years. It is the civilian peacekeeping arm of the government, much as the armed forces of the Philippines is the military arm that keeps the peace. Today's Philippine National Police was previously the Philippine Constabulary and the Integrated National Police. Before that, the Philippine Constabulary served as the National Police Force, even as local police forces were under the control of local executives. The Philippine Constabulary was created at the end of the Philippine-American War, after the Americans captured General Emilio Aguinaldo, President of the First Philippine Republic. Restoring peace and order was the first order of the day, and the American colonizers wanted a civilian peacekeeping force. In its first few years of existence, Americans occupied the highest posts in the constabulary. They gradually gave way to Filipinos with Brigadier General Rafael Crame, appointed as the first Filipino PC chief in December 1917. For the next 2 decades, the PC was an insular police force that was placed under the control of the newly created Philippine Army in January 1936. Manuel L. Quezon was president at that time, and the country was in transition from Commonwealth to independence. Meanwhile, the state police was created in 1936, but was abolished in 1938. President Quezon himself reactivated the PC and placed it under the Department of Interior. With World War II looming, this reconstituted and revitalized Philippine Constabulary was prepared to take part in the defense of the motherland. The Japanese, however, forced the PC into servitude, along with local and national government officials. Individually, untold numbers of the men of the PC would join the guerrilla forces that sprang up after the Japanese invaded the country. While Japanese forces were still occupying the Philippines, President Sergio Osmeña created the Military Police Command in 1944. After the war ended, the National Police Force was created, again bearing the name of the Philippine Constabulary. In the decades that followed, the police was under the control of the heads of the local government units where they were assigned. These local police forces operated separately from the PC, and some units would face greater challenges than others, especially where confronting the local communist movement was concerned. The communists had been part of the guerrilla movement during the war, but had refused to lay down their arms when peace returned. As such, they had become a problem for the government. The movement grew and came close to capturing Manila, had it not been for Defense Secretary Ramon Magsaysay, who would eventually become president. It was his tactics and strategies that broke the back of the communist rebellion of the 50s. The communist movement was revitalized in the 60s, better organized, spread throughout the countryside. Subversive activities escalated until the early 70s, when then President Ferdinand Marcos declared martial law, ostensibly to defeat the communist threat. In 1975, the integration of all police forces nationwide was implemented via presidential proclamation. Thus, the Integrated National Police was formed. The PC, however, continued to exist as a separate organization, performing both police and military duties. A new unit, the Metropolitan Command, or Metrocom, was created as part of the PC. The PC Metrocom was not always the most respected organization during the martial law years. If anything, it was the most feared. Suffice it to say that the martial law regime of Ferdinand Marcos did not hesitate to misuse the country's police and armed forces to meet its ends. On the plus side, there was a strong semblance of law and order, particularly during the early years of martial rule. Like the majority of the armed forces, so too did the police step aside when the Marcos regime was booted out by the EDSA Revolution of 1986. The 1987 Constitution finally called for the creation of a singular and professional police force that was national in scope and civilian in character. The Philippine Constabulary and the Integrated National Police were fully merged into what we now know as the Philippine National Police. Today's Philippine National Police is vastly different from its predecessors. It is as modern as any of its counterparts in Asia. In its continuing effort to provide the best possible service to the community, the PNP is in the midst of its integrated transformation program. With the transformation program, yesterday's weaknesses will be tomorrow's strengths. 2 years after it was first implemented, the program is starting to bear fruit. Public satisfaction ratings have been climbing steadily. For the ordinary citizen, the ITP seeks to establish the identity of the neighborhood as the epitome of a good cop. Maka-Diyos, makabayan, makatao, makakalikasan. At the top of the chain is the PNP chief. PNP has a much tougher task now than 100 years ago. The world has become a more complex place, and criminality takes many forms. From raw terrorism to cyber criminality to organized crime, the PNP has not shirked its responsibility to serve and protect. Eternal vigilance is the price we pay to keep our freedoms. The PNP is on the job 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But crime fighting is not the only job of today's PNP. Just as important is crime prevention. In this area, the PNP has been in partnership with the community. The badge worn by every policeman and policewoman must be more than a symbol of authority. It must also be a badge of honor. The overwhelming majority of the country's police force are men and women committed to keeping the peace. Scalawags are constantly being weeded out as early as possible, especially when they are found to have broken the public trust. Indeed, the PNP has evolved into a complete organization, committed to its vision of a professional, dynamic, and highly motivated Philippine National Police, working in partnership with a responsive community towards the attainment of a safe place to live, invest, and do business in. Its mission is clear: to enforce the law, to prevent and control crimes, to maintain peace and order, and ensure public safety and a internet security with the active support of the community. This is today's Philippine National Police, truly serving and protecting the Filipino people.
Alright. So maybe you're wondering, ma'am, if the PNP was created during the time of Corazon Aquino when she became the president of the Philippines. So the question might be, what happened to those members of the PC and the INP during the creation of the PNP? So probably that is your question. So very simple lang. What happened is that when the Philippine National Police was created under Republic Act 6975, okay, what the bureau did, okay? So remember that there are three bureaus that were created under 6975. The bureau that I am referring to is first the very common, the Philippine National Police. The second bureau that was created is your Bureau of Fire Protection. The third bureau that was created under 6975 is your Bureau of Jail Management and Penology. So going back to our main focus today, which is the PNP. Again, probably your question, ma'am, what happened to the PC and INP? Diba? They were in charge of the enforcement of laws during that time, both local and the national level. Okay, based on the video, it was emphasized that your PC is a para-militaristic in nature. Okay? So what happened to them when the PNP was created is that they were absorbed in the PNP organization. They were given an option whether to join the new police organization, the new bureau under Republic Act 6975, or to join the military. So what happened? Those who were qualified, in terms with the educational qualification and the length of service and their age, they were absorbed in the PNP organization. So that is why mabantayan ninyo probably when you were in your senior high school, when you were in your junior high school, or even when you were your elementary, or probably until now na may kaila, na maingon sila that they were a member of the PCINP before. That is correct. As what I have mentioned, those members of the PC, those member of the INP that were qualified and decided to join the PNP, they were absorbed in the organization. So again, I will emphasize, probably you were not able to get it properly. So your RA 6975 was created, okay, under the Philippine Constitution. Philippine Constitution, 1987 Philippine Constitution. May ngumo, ma'am, ano sa Philippine 1987, ma'am? Remember that when the late President Corazon Aquino became the president, what she did is that in order to, of course, eliminate the misuse of powers of the police force, what she did is that based on the advice of her advisor, is she decided to amend the Philippine Constitution, which resulted to the creation of the 1987 Philippine Constitution, which also resulted to the creation of your Republic Act 6975. So your 6975 is known as the Department of Interior and Local Government Act of 1990. Meaning to say, your Department of Local Government was reorganized and resulted to the creation of the DILG, which resulted to the creation of the three important bureaus. Again, the PNP, the BJMP, and the BFP, including your Philippine Public Safety College. Mangutana mo, ma'am, usa may kalainay and sa PNP o sa Philippine Public Safety College. Familiar mo ng PNPA? Okay, so ang PNPA is under your Philippine Public Safety College. So therefore, they are in charge on the training and they are also in charge for the maintenance, selection, and training of cadets for the academy. Alright? So let us continue. So, di sa tamo touch dire, let's focus on Republic Act 6975. So, the primary reason why your 6975 is also considered as a mother law simply because it did not only created the PNP as what I have mentioned, but also it created your BFP, your BJMP. So, your PNP, guys, so in Filipino translation, it is known as Pambansang Pulisya ng Pilipinas. So, it's the armed national police force in the Philippines and its national headquarters is at Camp Crame in Quezon City, Metro Manila. So, currently, they do have, dili pa siya current, mga way back, excuse me guys. Hello, love. Oh. Oh, sige, love. Okay, balik ta. So, kanang 220,000, di na siya inana ka latest na total population because the Philippine National Police decided to increase its manpower. So now the agency is administered and controlled by the National Police Commission or the so-called NAPOLCOM and is part of the Department of Interior and Local Government or DILG. So your local police officers are operationally controlled by the municipal mayors. So the DILG, on the other hand, trains, organizes, and equipped the PNP for the performance of police functions as a police force that is national in scope and civilian in character. Another, the PNP was formed on January 29, 1991. So when the Philippine Constabulary, as what I mentioned, and Integrated National Police were merged, again, they were absorbed, they were merged as long as they were qualified to Republic Act 6975, which is Act of 1919. So, let us continue. So, though it is mentioned here that your PNP is under the supervision and control of the NAPOLCOM, yes, it is true, as of present, it is controlled by the NAPOLCOM. However, if we will focus on 6975, again, kung mag-focus ka sa Republic Act 6975, your PNP will be under the control of the DILG. So, type ha. Okay, that is correct. So, as what you can see, I've written here that in 6975, the PNP again is under the control and supervision of the DILG. However, your 6975, the mother law of all law enforcement agency, okay, particularly on the Tri-Bureau, okay, this was amended by Republic Act 8551. So, ang hitabo, gikan sa DILG, the supervision, the control, the power was transferred to the NAPOLCOM. But then again, ayaw mo katingala, ma'am, if the PNP under 8551 is under the control and supervision of the NAPOLCOM, nya nga naman ang DILG Secretary mag-apil-apil pa man. Of course, kinailangan siya mag-apil because the ex-officio chairman of the NAPOLCOM is, of course, the Secretary of the DILG. Mauna siya. So much with the history, okay? So now let's move forward to the law proper itself. So under section 2, which is the declaration of the policy, let me read. It is hereby declared to be the policy of the state to promote peace and order, ensure public safety, and further strengthen local government capability aimed towards the effective delivery of basic services to the citizenry through the establishment of highly efficient and competent police force that is national in scope and civilian in character. So towards the end of Republic Act 6975, the state, which is our country, shall bolster a system of coordination, cooperation among its citizenry, the local executives. When you say local executives, this refers to the mayors, and the integrated law enforcement and public safety agency created under this act. So the police force shall be organized, trained, equipped primarily for the performance of a police function. So its national in scope and civilian character shall be paramount, meaning to say it should always be upheld and observed at all times. So therefore, no element of the police force shall be in military nor any position thereof be occupied by active members of the armed forces of the Philippines. That is correct. So, matingala mo ma'am, ganun sa declaration of the policy of the State of Republic Act 69. Why is it that they have emphasized that it should be national in scope and civilian in character? If you were listening on the video earlier, makita nimo, ma-picture out nimo, okay, that our police force during the time of Marcos is duwa siya kabuo. We do have the PC and we do have the INP. So, ang gibuhat sa Republic Act 6975 is that it created a police force, one police force for the whole, for the state itself. Okay? So, meaning to say, when you say national in scope na, even if you are a police officer from Dumaguete, when you go to Manila, still you are considered as a police officer. Okay? So whatever are the benefits of the police officers from the national headquarters, you will also receive such depending kung pareho ba mo og ranked itself. So mo nagingon nga national in scope. Aside from that, when you say national in scope, meaning to say that bisag asa pa mapunta, as long as you are within the territory of the Philippines, then you are bound to perform your job. Okay? Or, another good example, wala ka sulod sa Pilipinas, but then you are within the scope of the extraterritorial, okay, law of the Philippines. So, unsa may mahitabuan na, still you are bound to perform your job, your functions, your responsibilities as a police officer. Another, yan nag-emphasize in the section 2 that the police officers, okay, should be civilian in character. Diba, what was emphasized in the video earlier, that during the time of Marcos, during the implementation of the martial law, there were a lot of misuse of power. There were a lot of brutality, so on and so forth. So, what this law does is that it protects the image of the PNP. It makes sure that the PNP remains a civilian in character. Okay? Never being in a paramilitaristic in nature. So, Naabing to issue ani kahinumdum mo atong sa staff when many of the staff members, I forgot the year, died. So ang nahitabo ato, one of the senators during that year questioned the organizational setup of the PNP, questioning the creation of the staff and the SWAT. Nga naman, kay if you will, so which is naadyo siya dako nga point, kay nga naman, if you will try to look at Republic Act 6975, in particular Section 2, it is emphasized here that they should always be in national in scope and civilian in character. It is also emphasized here that no element of the police force shall be military, nor shall any be position be occupied by active members of the PNP. Though it is true that the staff and the SWAT is their leaders or their heads are not the active members of the armed forces of the Philippines, but if you would try to look at the unit itself, makita nimo that they are highly technical. They are militaristic in form. They are the elite forces of the PNP. So, mo to'y gi-question ato nga senator. But then again, to make the story short, wala dya po'y update. Now let's move forward. So the Department of Interior and Local Government, Section 4, to carry out the policies and the purposes of this act, the DILG is hereby reorganized into a Department of Interior and Local Government, which shall be addressed as the department in accordance with this provision. So Section 5, the powers and functions of the DILG, okay? The department shall continue to exercise the powers and functions of the Department of Local Government in addition with the powers and functions as provided by this Act. Now, next, the organization. So the department shall consist the department proper. So this is the organization composition under 6975. So this shall be composed of a department proper. It shall have the existing bureaus and offices of the Department of Local Government. Then it shall have the NAPOLCOM. Excuse me guys. Love na naman na kada sa boss. O sige ako pakanaog. Dong Omar? Dong, alayin sa paghatag ani Dong? Lasang hindi hatag na ako. Hinigi ko. Kalimot pasok na hindi hatag. Masuko na nito. Isa doon na. My gosh. Kaya dyan, wala mo ko gihatag ni mong form ganina rin, no? Wala pa. Katurosan. Sige guys. Pasadya pa. My gosh. Saan mo? Dong ha, pencut lang kayo dong. Oh my gosh. So marong. Dong balik. Natawa ko na itong libro ang biyatan niyo dong. Ako'y nakasipit at dong. Parang nasa ko na ko nga dyan. as what I have emphasized, it resulted also to the creation of the Tri-Bureaus, the Philippine National Police, the Bureau of Fire Protection, and the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology. That is the reason why I have emphasized earlier that under this act, which is Republic Act 6975, your PNP is under the supervision of the DILG. Okay? Alright. So next is, let's go to section 23. So chapter 3 is, this is the section of 6975 which provides the mandate of the PNP. So subject to the limitations provided by this act, your PNP referred, your Philippine National Police referred as the PNP is hereby established, initially consisting the members of, as what we have emphasized earlier, your INP and your PC. So your INP under Presidential Decree 769, may umumang 769, because 769 is the law which created the Integrated National Police. And another is the enlisted personnel of the PC. So for the purpose of this act, the officers, the enlisted personnel of the PC shall include those assigned with the narcotics, okay, or the narcotic command, or NARCOM, or the Criminal Investigation Service, or CIS, and those of technical services of the AFP assigned with the PC, and the civilian operatives of the Criminal Investigation Service. So the regular operatives of the NAPOLCOM inspection, so the regular operatives of the abolished NAPOLCOM inspection, the investigation and intelligence branch may also be absorbed by the PNP if they do want to. In addition, the PC officer or enlisted personnel may transfer to any branches or services of the armed forces of the Philippines in accordance with the provisions of Section 85 of this Act. So in order to be qualified to transfer to the PNP organization in Metropolitan Manila and is in highly urbanized cities, an individual must have completed not less than second year college, or kung iba unit siya nato, 72 units. So anyone who has pending administrative or even criminal case or has been adjudged liable or convicted of a crime pending appeal shall be allowed to join in the PNP pero in probationary status lang. So without prejudice with the final judgment by the body of a competent jurisdiction. So the permanent civilian employee of the present PCINP, the NARCOM, the CIS, the technical service of the AFP assigned in the PC, including the NAPOLCOM hearing officers holding regular items, shall be absorbed by the department as employees thereof, subject to the existing laws and regulation. So probably mayroon mo, ma'am, nag-isip lagi ka about those who has pending cases, okay, or those whose case is still on trial. Pwede na din na? Yes, under Republic Act 6975, again, under Republic Act 6975, if that member of the PC, if that member of the INP, if that member of the NARCOM, if that member of the CIS, so on and so forth, as mentioned above, okay, wants to join in the PNP pero naa sila'y pending administrative or criminal case, probably on trial, or probably the case itself is on appeal. May musi kalainan sa on trial o sa on appeal. Nana sila kung diferensya aside from the spelling. When you say on trial, meaning to say that no judgment has been given yet. Okay? So wala pa giingon nga guilty or not guilty. Alright? if the case itself is a criminal action. When you say the case is on appeal, meaning to say, on the lower court, naa na siya'y gihatag na decision. Probably the decision, if it is a criminal case, then the person was adjudged or convicted when you say found out guilty beyond reasonable doubt. Pero kay tungod on appeal siya, therefore, the case is not yet final. Okay? So, sa may mahitabo ana, kinahanglan na po kang magpaabot sa result of the case. Whether the court with appellate jurisdiction, such as the Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court, i-follow na ba nila or they will provide the same decision from the lower court or they would reverse the decision. So, while waiting pa sa case on appeal, kung sa resulta, while waiting pa sa mga case on trial kung unsay resulta, that member of those organizations I have mentioned earlier, they are allowed to join in the new organization, which is the PNP. However, na ay big difference with regards to the status of employment. Since they are still facing criminal or administrative charges and waiting for final decision, their status would be probationary probationary, meaning to say that it's not yet permanent, probi pa. So, the moment nga naanay resulta, if they are found guilty beyond reasonable doubt sa ilang kaso, therefore, probationary man siya, so pwede siyang mataktak sa service. Just for in case that the decision is the opposite, they were not found guilty beyond reasonable doubt, or the court with appellate jurisdiction decided to somehow reverse the decision, okay, in favor to the accused. So, sa may mahita po, from probationary status, ma-process na into a permanent status. Okay? Another is Section 4, Powers and Functions. So, these are some of the powers and functions of the PNP. Una, enforce all laws and ordinances relative to the protection of the lives and the properties. Nagingon ba enforce all laws? So whether it's a national law, whether it's a PD, whether when you say PD, presidential decree, whether it is an executive order, kinahanglan i-enforce ko na siya nimo. Okay? Another is ordinances. Ang ordinances, these are also laws, but these are produced by the local executives. Kanabang hinimo sa mga mayor, silang respective towns and cities. So, if you are assigned there, so, you need to implement. A very good example is here in Dumaguete City. So, ang pinaka-common nga ordinance ni Mayor Remolyo is that you are not allowed to bring dogs dito sa boulevard. Ano bang extension sa boulevard? So, you are not allowed to bring dogs. The moment that, okay, you will bring dogs or mag-bike ka or mag-sit ka dito, you will be, reprimanded by the police officers. So, just for in case, you will insist that you are right, so most likely you will be arrested. So, it depends na lamang sa ordinance whether it is a fine or both fine and imprisonment. Okay? Another is paragraph B, maintain peace and order and take all necessary steps to ensure public safety. Yes, that is true. Maunang ma-observe na to that our police officers are performing patrol and they do embrace and they do practice effective omnipresence. So in that way, they could maintain peace and order. Another, investigate and prevent crimes, effect the arrest of the criminal offenders, bring the offender to justice, and assist in their prosecution. Yes, that is correct. So natin gitawag na investigate. So that is why the PNP organization or even in the PNP stations na agutay investigation unit. So they are in charge in investigating, okay, for crimes discovered and reported. And aside from that, the police officers needs to perform arrests. So remember guys that arrest, there are two ways to perform this. So it can be performed without a warrant. Again, it can be performed without a warrant. So kung walang warrant, that is what we call warrantless arrest. So mangutana mo, ma'am, ano sa man ka makabuhat og arrest without a warrant? Or when can we perform warrantless arrest? Sa'yo na kaayo. Like for example, caught in the act nimo, in flagrante delicto, nakita nimo nga grip siya sa akto, nakita nimo nga nahawat siya sa akto, nakita nimo nga iyang gitangtang ng salamin sa sidecar, nanguha og unsa man mga belonging from other people, caught in the act nimo. So in that given scenario, then you can perform a warrantless arrest. Okay, but you need to remember guys, when you perform warrantless arrest, you need to make sure that you stipulate or provide the basic rights, the basic Miranda rights of the person. So what are the common basic Miranda rights? So una, as a police officer, imo siyang inon ha, you have the right to remain silent. Second, imo siyang i-inform of the nature of his accusation. So imo siyang inon nga, gidakop ikaw, kay tungod ikaw, nangawat. Example lang. Then another, imo po siyang inon that kay katungod na mukuha o imo ang kaugalingon nga abogado. If you cannot provide, then we will provide you coming from PAO. So remember guys, when you provide the Miranda rights, it is very important that you need to use a medium of language that is understood properly by the person being arrested. Like for example, kung kana siya taga Negros ra, kung asa ba nang dapit sa Negros, nga Bisaya ra klaro ang istorya, then it would be safe and better that you stipulate the basic Miranda rights using Binisaya language. But if it is a foreigner, whether it's a Chinese, whether it's American, Canadian, so on and so forth, the best medium of language to be utilized during the conduct of warrantless arrest is English. And if it is a Filipino, waray ba na siya, but you do not know how to speak waray, so it would be better that you speak in Tagalog. Okay? So kinahanglan when you give the basic Miranda rights of the person being arrested without a warrant, kay caught in the act nimo siya. Okay? Nga nagbuhat og crime or is about to commit a crime. So ang pinakamaayo is that you need to use a language that is understood. Okay, ngutana mo, ma'am, what if we cannot, as the arresting officer, what if we cannot stipulate the basic Miranda rights? Will it provide a negative effect? Yes, of course. Mo ganang kinahanglan nga imo jud ihatag ang iyahang basic rights. Remember nga if you do have the opportunity to somehow provide the basic Miranda rights, pero wa jud mo gihatag because you forgot, unfortunately, unsaon na lang. So ang resultaan na is that most likely the person being arrested, okay, based on the examination of the inquest prosecutor, na jud ako nga possibility nga iyahan ang i-recommend for release. And then makita po diya ang mga technicalities nimo. So mo nang when you perform an arrest, most especially during the conduct of an arrest without a warrant, you need to provide the basic Miranda rights. Another is that when you perform an arrest, it is very imperative also on your part as the police officer that you should never use excessive force. Like for example, submissive na kayo ng imuhang gidako, nga imo jung kulatahon, imo jung patiran, imo jung sumbagon, musapagod. Di po na siya pumiting. So, mufo na po kag mga technicalities, ikaw pa nang makasuhan. Alright? So, the other form of arrest that may be performed by the police officer is an arrest with warrant. So, this is just simply the opposite of the first one. So, meaning to say, this is what we call arrest with warrant. So, kana siya yung warrant. So, same Japon, when you perform an arrest with warrant, it is very important that when you arrest a person never use excessive force, and when given the opportunity, always stipulate the basic Miranda rights of the person. Okay? Next, exercise the general powers to make arrest and search and seizure in accordance with the Constitution and pertinent laws. Mangutana mo, ma'am, unsay kalainan sa arrest? Unsay kalainan sa search and seizure? So, arrest is that when you arrest a person, okay? When you say search and seizure, ngunit inyuhang, when you say search, but pasabot, sabi ni siya, imuhang lantawon, imuhang i-check. When you say seizure, imuhang waon. Okay? Like for example, na kay search warrant, ang inyuhang gibulong is a caliber 45 firearm. So, when you conducted a search in the house stipulated in the search warrant, nakita nimo ang caliber 45. So, you will do the second one, which is the seizure. Okay, imuhang waon. But always remember, okay, future police officers, that when you conduct search and when you conduct a search and you were able to seize an item that is considered as illegal, that is considered as contraband, always remember to give a copy, to give a receipt kung usa tong mga items nga imuhang nakuha. And it should be thoroughly described. Like for example, nakakuha ka og pitaka. Usa may brand sa pitaka, usa color sa pitaka, importante kaayo na. Always provide a copy sa person. Another, detain an arrested person for a period not beyond what is prescribed by law in informing the person so detained of all his rights under the Philippine Constitution. Again, when you detain a person, it is very imperative that you need to detain him within the correct hours. Like for example, if the crime itself is mga light offenses, dapat imo na siyang i-detain o not beyond 12 hours. This is for the light offenses. Okay? However, for the mga less grave offenses, it should not be beyond 18 hours. Okay? If it is a grave offense, then it should not be beyond 36 hours. So, importante na kaayo. Okay? Another, issue of licenses for the possession of firearms and explosives in accordance with the law. So that is still part of the job of the PNP. Like for example, if you want to become a security guard or in the future you will have your own security agency, so kinahanglan that the firearms sa inyong agency should be registered, and then you will need to go to the PNP to get its license. So aside from that, aside from the security guards, aside from if you will have your own security agency in the future, another is that like you want to register your personal firearm, or you want to get your permit to carry, so you will need to go to the PNP. Take note guys, for the permit to carry sa imong firearm, you need to undergo drug test and neuro examination to see if you are mentally fit to carry the firearm. Another, so supervise and control the training and operations of the security agencies and issue licenses to operate security agencies, and to security guards and private detectives for the practice of their profession. Yes, that is true, because one of the requirement for getting of a license or for renewing their license is kinahanglan na ay training, and that training should be conducted by a police officer. Another, the performance of other duties and exercise all functions as may be provided by law. In addition, the PNP shall absorb the National Action Committee on Anti-Hijacking or NACA and the Department of National Defense. So all functions of the present Philippine Air Force Security Command or POFSICOM, as well as the police functions of the Coast Guard, in order to perform its powers and functions efficiently and effectively. So the PNP shall be provided with adequate land, sea, and air capabilities and all necessary material means of resources. That is correct. Muna, ang PNP organization na to, if you have look at the copy that I have provided with regards to its structure, okay, makita ninyo nga ang PNP organization is composed of so many operational units. Naatay CIDG, naatay Maritime Police, naatay Highway Patrol, naatay basta pwede kayong daghana. Okay, too many to mention. So another, the PNP itself shall be headed by the chief, okay, or the head of the PNP. So that chief will be assisted by two deputies. So one for the operations and one for the administration. And the two deputies shall be appointed by the president, of course, with the recommendation of the commission. Ma'am, kinsa man yung commission? The commission refers to your NAPOLCOM. Okay? From among the senior and qualified officers. Provided that in no case shall any officer who has retired or retirable within 6 months from his compulsory retirement of age be appointed as the chief PNP. So, kinahanglan dili siya retirable within 6 months o dili siya retired in order for that senior officer to qualify as the chief PNP. So, the PNP shall be composed of various offices. Naatay National Office, which is situated in Kamkrame. You do have regional offices. Naatay 17. Okay, naatay 17 regional offices. Kaya naama po tayo 17 regions. O naatay provincial office. Like here in Negros Oriental, ang atuang provincial office diri is situated in Sibulan, which is commonly known as the Aganan, the Nopo Aganan. Another, you do have your district office, your city or municipal police stations. So, like here in the case of Dumaguete, so we do have Dumaguete Police Station. So, at the national level, the PNP maintains its office in Manila. So, which shall house, of course, your directorial staff, your service staff, your support staff, your chief PNP, the two deputies. So, these are the people that you can see in the national level or the national office. Another,